The Conservatives at City Hall have demanded a by-election after one of their Assembly members defected to Reform UK. Keith Prince has been on the London Assembly for 9 years. Our correspondent Simon Harris is at the Tory party conference in Manchester and sent us this report.
It came as no surprise to Conservative Party members that Reform would try to upstage their conference here in Manchester by unveiling the latest Tory defector. In the end, it wasn't a former Cabinet Minister or even an MP, but Keith Prince, a member of the London Assembly for Havering and Redbridge. He also sits on Havering Council, representing the quaintly named ward of Squirrels Heath. He's been a member of the Conservatives for 49 years, but said the party was done and dusted. His former leader at City Hall said he should resign and force a by-election.
It would be the right thing to do, to call a by-election. Reform came third in his area, so I assume he will do the right thing and call a by-election.
What do you think his defection to Reform says about the state of the Conservative Party?
The Conservatives are doing their best to regroup, to look at things, to give an offer going forward, and those of us that are loyal will remain loyal.
Keith Prince has no intention of putting himself up for re-election. He told me no one would thank him for calling a by-election because of the cost. Nigel Farage described his defection as historic because Reform UK now has a group of Assembly members, albeit a group of just 2.
Over the weekend, there was another shock defection from the Conservatives to Reform, this time at City Hall. Former Tory Assembly member Keith Prince has told ITV News London the country has been ruined by both Labour and the Conservatives. Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris is at the party conference in Manchester. Simon, is the party in trouble in the capital?
Ronke, the threat from Reform is certainly concentrating minds here in Manchester. The Conservatives are down to just 9 MPs in London. They control half a dozen councils as well, but for how much longer? Kemi Badenoch's speech on Wednesday is expected to focus on the economy. As leader, she knows she has to transform the party's fortunes ahead of crucial elections next May. But Keith Prince clearly thinks it's a lost cause.
Welcome aboard, Keith.
Reform's latest Tory defector was met at City Hall today by his new teammate.
Look at that. Be wearing those on Thursday.
Keith Prince's decision to swap sides was announced on the eve of the Conservative conference. His former colleagues want him to resign from the London Assembly and stand in a by-election.
I don't think the people of London will be very happy with the cost of me calling a by-election because I cover 2 boroughs, Havering and Redbridge. I think the cost would be enormous, and I don't think in these hard times, when everybody's struggling, that we should be wasting public money.
Like at last week's Labour conference, Reform is the elephant in the room in Manchester.
Now Reform, I'm afraid to say, have the economic policies of Jeremy Corbyn. They're promising nationalisations we can't afford, more tax for more welfare, more spending, which means more borrowing, which means more debt for our children.
Conservative Party members are all too aware the strength of support for Reform in London will be put to the test in May. That's when elections are held for the 32 London boroughs. At the moment, the Tories control just 6 of them.
They've come to London because London is a great city.
Elizabeth Campbell is the leader of one of the councils, Kensington and Chelsea. She thinks there's a clear divide in London's political map.
I think it depends whether you're in London or out of London. So on the doorsteps of Kensington and Chelsea, I would say it's a straight Labour Conservative fight. If you talk to some of my colleagues in outer London, I think Reform is more of a threat to them.
Anyone walking into the conference venue is immediately confronted by outfits worn by Margaret Thatcher. Romford MP Andrew Rossendale wants the party of the Iron Lady to embrace Reform.
What I believe is that the Conservative Party and Reform are 2 sides of the same coin. We should be working together. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We are right of centre. And what we don't want is more socialism.
The Conservative Party is the longest and most traditional party in the country. We have no need to work with Reform, is my opinion. I actually think a lot of the policy areas that Reform are exploring are not ones that are conservative in nature. A number of my voters do not want to vote Reform because of that.
As well as being on the London Assembly, Keith Prince is a councillor in Havering. He says if he could, he'd bet his house on Reform winning the council in May. Simon Harris, ITV News, Manchester.
It is day 3 of the Conservative Party conference, and today Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, who's also the MP for Croydon South, said upping stop and search would be front and centre of their policy on tackling crime. The Conservatives claim most of the UK's crime hotspots are in the capital. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is in Manchester for us this evening, and Simon, that claim has already been challenged.
Yes, Lucrezia. When Londoners go to the polls next May, the Conservatives have high hopes of recapturing Westminster City Council. It's one of their key targets, which might explain why the Home Secretary, Chris Philp, today named and shamed Westminster as having some of the worst crime hotspots in the UK and crying out for more stop and search. That prompted an angry response from City Hall, with a source close to the Mayor accusing the Tories of astounding hypocrisy and talking London down. Kira has only been in her job 2 months, but has already witnessed multiple crimes. The upmarket boutique in Marylebone High Street where she works is a frequent target for shoplifters. They help themselves to stock worth thousands of pounds.
Come in, grab, kind of empty a table almost, throw them into a bag and run out. No kind of not trying to hide it at all. Very brazen. Marylebone is in Westminster, which according to the Conservatives has 4 of the top 5 crime hotspots in the UK. At the Tory conference in Manchester, the Shadow Home Secretary accused the Mayor of presiding over a huge spike in knife crime while cutting stop and search by 60%.
It's insane that the smell of cannabis alone, or somebody wearing a menacing mask alone, does not generally allow, legally, a stop and search. So, in our hotspot areas, we will allow routine stop and search without suspicion.
Westminster Council is spending £500,000 increasing the number of CCTV cameras in the borough to 200. Most shops also boast security cameras, but they do little to deter persistent shoplifters.
You see on TikTok every day people who don't care that they're on video. They go into shops, they're on video, they're stealing, and they don't give a damn. And they won't give a damn until we start nicking them.
I think that the Conservatives had their chance to tackle crime and antisocial behaviour here in the centre of London, and stop and search needs to be handled very carefully. Londoners need to have trust and confidence in their police, and that's why seeing more police on the street and building that trust and confidence in the police is so important.
The Conservatives promised to hire 10,000 extra police, increase patrols in crime hotspots and triple stop and search. Promises which depend on winning an election, possibly 4 years away. Simon Harris, ITV News, Manchester.
Next tonight, Tory delegates are heading home from their conference in Manchester, pondering whether the party has done enough to even start the long process of regaining voters' trust. With reform eating away at the Conservative support, many are nervous heading into local elections next year. And then there's the painful task of choosing a candidate who stands a chance of regaining the mayor's office here in London, all with a leader some Tories doubt will even be in the job this time next year. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
The Conservative Party is tanking in the opinion polls and its leader has been accused of lacking a vision. So Kemi Badenoch's first conference speech needed to reassure party members that the Tories are still players.
Our test is to restore a strong economy, secure our borders and rebuild Britain's strength so our children inherit a country that works.
For London Conservatives, the party's future includes the crucial question of who should be the next mayoral candidate.
I think I would like to have Boris Johnson back.
I'd be very happy with Penny Mordaunt. I'd be very, very happy with Penny Mordaunt.
I like the idea of Penny Mordaunt or James Cleverly, though. That would be interesting. But we want someone who is a name.
If James would like to, I'll definitely vote for him.
I therefore declare Boris Johnson to be elected as the Mayor of London.
It's 13 years since Londoners last elected a Conservative to run City Hall. James Cleverly would certainly be a popular choice among London Tories, and some read his criticism of Sadiq Khan's house-building record as putting down a marker.
And the Labour Mayor of London has not and will not get a grip of the situation, which is why we need a Conservative Mayor for London who will get a grip.
Penny Mordaunt is another high-profile name being talked about. She's the former leader of the House of Commons who lost her seat at the last election.
The ideal candidate is somebody who is a beacon of hope and light in our city. We do not have somebody who is bringing the city together. We need someone who understands the economy, somebody who's had a proper job, who can show the private sector experience and demonstrate that it's not the mayor or government that creates growth, it's business. We need somebody who's business friendly, who can tackle issues like knife crime and just actually show our city at its best.
Do you have anyone in mind?
I will not be discussing that. I'm looking for people to come forward.
One person who certainly has a view is Susan Hall, the candidate Sadiq Khan defeated in 2024.
It's a £21 billion budget, and it's absolutely essential that anybody that goes to be the mayor would understand what they needed to do and get on to it quickly, because London is in a mess thanks to Sadiq Khan.
Would you consider standing again?
Oh, I don't know. I've always said no, but you should never say no. Who knows what's going to happen?
So a Susan Hall-Sadiq Khan rematch isn't entirely out of the question.
Wannabe mayoral candidates probably have another 12 months before they have to decide if they want to enter the fray. More immediately, the party will be looking for signs that this conference is the start of the Tories' fight back. But that's a tall order, with Reform UK so far ahead in the opinion polls and a Labour government with a huge majority. Talking to Londoners who listened to the leader's speech, Kemi Badenoch definitely lifted the mood. And with London's housing crisis, that announcement about scrapping stamp duty went down especially well.